this basic truth. Mr. President, today there's a clear choice between complacency and leadership. Over the past 30 years, Hezbollah terrorist organization has killed tens of thousands of men, women, and children in attacks spanning dozens of countries and 5 continents. Working with its Iranian patrons, Hezbollah has killed families on vacation, peacekeepers sleeping in their barracks, and diplomats carrying out their official business. Iran has provided Hezbollah with the funds, training, and advanced weapons to hijack the Lebanese state and transform it into an outpost for terror. Just last week, Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah publicly admitted that Iran provided him with a military drone that his organization sent over Israel. One does not need any further evidence that Hezbollah is a direct proxy of the Iranian regime. Hezbollah continuous provocations could have, and I repeat, have devastating consequences for this region. I want to make it perfectly clear so that no one in this chamber will say that they did not hear or did not understand me. Hezbollah's continued provocation and military buildup could have devastating consequences for the region. Mr. President, not all Lebanese are so happy that Hezbollah uses their country as its playground. A former Lebanese Prime Minister, Saad Hariri, said last week, Lebanon is not an unmanned drone, and he reiterated, quote, deep concerns over the uncalculated risk which Hezbollah wants to drag Lebanon into. Nasrallah claims that he needs a private independent army with more missiles than many NATO members to defend Lebanon against Israel. Today on the streets of Homs, Hama, and Damascus, we see Hezbollah's army is far more preoccupied with butchering their Arab brothers and sisters in Syria. Ahmadinejad and Nasrallah sit on Bashar Assad's advisory board, offering the tyrant of Damascus guidance on how to butcher the Syrian people more efficiently. Together they form what I call a trio of terror. I know that there's no shortage of those willing to express their quote, in parentheses, commitment to Israel's security in these halls. Yes, the displays of commitment to Israel's security have been difficult to find over the past 6 years as Hezbollah has turned southern Lebanon into one giant storage facility for 50,000 missiles. And some countries around this table continue to define Hezbollah as a charitable and political group, not a terrorist organization. This is no less ridiculous than describing the mafia as a gentleman's social club. In many European countries, Hezbollah is raising money from supporters as if it were the Red Cross. Nasrallah recently admitted that being placed on a European terrorist list would, and I quote, destroy Hezbollah, drying up many sources of financial, political, and moral support. How much longer must this absurdity continue? How many more innocents might fall victim to Hezbollah's terror before Europe acts? It is time for all responsible nations to call Hezbollah exactly what it is, a global terrorist organization. Mr. President, this hall today, the need for leadership is clear. Later in this debate, Iran will speak on behalf of the non-aligned movement. In other words, the world's greatest sponsor of terrorism will speak to the Security Council on behalf of roughly 2/3 of the country represented at the United Nations. What a sham and what a shame. It's time for all those numb countries that care about peace and security to realign the non-aligned movement. It's time for the international community to finally act to stop the Iranian regime from acquiring nuclear weapons. With every day that passes, the enriched uranium in Iran piles higher and higher. One can only imagine what this Ayatollah regime would do with a dangerous combination of extremist ideology, advanced missile, worst nightmare. And with the worst nightmares, sometimes the only way to stop them is to wake up. The hour is getting very late. The red line is very clear. The world must stop Iran before it's too late. Mr. President, for Israel, the lessons of history are very clear. Real security and real peace can only be secured in the real world, not the fantasy land of vague statements and empty resolutions. To those truly committed to the security of Israel in the Middle East, to those committed to a two-state solution, I say, act tangibly, speak out publicly, and show us correctly. Your choices are very clear. You can recognize Israel as the nation-state of the Jewish people, or allow the Palestinian leadership to deny our history without any consequence. You can work to end the PA's incitement and support for terrorists, or allow hate and extremism to take root for generations to come. You can state publicly that the so-called claim of return is a non-starter, or you can allow this claim to remain an obstacle on the road to peace. You can choose to support direct negotiations and talks around the table, or to undermine them with unilateral resolutions at the UN. You can choose to look the other way at Hezbollah's terror, or show the political courage to stop the organization in its tracks. You can choose to stand idle as the Iranian nuclear bomb becomes a reality in the Middle East, or you can take action before it's too late. Today I say to the leaders of our region, to the members of this council, and to each and every member of the United Nations, these choices are yours. The fate of the Middle East hangs in the balance. The time to act is now. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I thank the permanent representative of Israel for that statement.